DJI sent me this drone early, so I've had time to put it through everything. We have officially reached the day where a 1-inch sensor fits on a body under 250 grams. Look at this list: 10-bit all the time, a telephoto that doesn't suck, LiDAR, 42 gigabytes of internal memory, 14 stops of dynamic range. That's a massive claim. But look at what is coming out of this thing. This does not just feel like an upgrade to the sensor size. How much has changed that they're not telling us, because what is going on under the hood of this little Mini 5 Pro and its T-Rex head? The software, the color, the firmware, the image processing has to have changed as well for it to be this noticeable. With a bigger sensor, you get less noise, cleaner ISO, better low light, but if the image processing changed, that would explain why the battery is only 21 minutes if you're recording, but 36 minutes if you're hovering. The fastest way to improve image quality is to increase the sensor size. That's the weight class the drone is in. This is the reason to even make a Mini 5 Pro. A larger sensor means better dynamic range. That's being able to see bright brights and dark shadows at the same time. 14 stops of dynamic range is an insane claim. The Mavic 4 Pro is doing 16. Sunset, Mini 4 Pro, shooting in auto 30 frames a second. It has to be in auto because that's the only way to get 14 stops for some reason. Mini 5 Pro, all the colors balanced out in a realistic range. The tree bark, the clouds back there. The Mini 4 Pro is struggling. Some of these are almost blown out. You can't see a cloud back there, it's just white. Both did okay in the shadows, but there's less noise on the Mini 5 Pro and it handles the grass better. I'll talk about this more 9 minutes into the video. So at nighttime, let's look at the Mini 4 Pro. It was filming a little bit earlier, so it had an advantage. Mini 5 Pro in auto, there's no more night mode. You just shoot everything in auto now. Much better clarity and presence, buildings, concrete, everything's sharper and cleaner. This gets way more obvious if you zoom in on the footage. Way more visible details with the Mini 5 Pro, not the Mini 4 Pro. I even went back and shot a second time because I thought I was going crazy. Why is it so blurry? I don't remember the Mini 4 Pro being like this, but this is what I got from it. Even using the 2X on the Mini 5 Pro, everything is still clear at nighttime. While we're talking about nighttime, LiDAR is a huge improvement, so you won't bump into things that are in front of you even if it's dark. There's no light out here and it can see my house completely fine. It won't stop you from hitting a power line though still, so be careful of those. If you want to see those side-by-side specs with the Mini 4 Pro, just pause. It can shoot D-Log-M and footage is 10-bit all the time. That just means it has a deeper, more accurate color range. We are removing so many bottlenecks. At this point, the opposite is happening. The data and the format isn't a limitation. The bottleneck is exclusively becoming the sensor size. I really want to talk more than I should about this alternate shooting mode where you can crop in, and it might not be full 4K because you're cropping in on the sensor, but it still came out so good. I want to give you another example too. So here is the regular Mini 5 Pro, then here is the 2X cropped in. I lied, the first shot was the 2X. This is the wide view. I've been doing this my whole life. I really feel like I ought to be able to spot the difference in the crop. Apart from the framing, I don't see much loss in quality. To the point where probably 1/3 or 1/2 of what I've showed you is using the 2X. Anybody who's on the fence about getting an Air 3S, this is probably going to be your most soothing info. Having the ability to change focal lengths gives you different framing. I mean, I don't have to describe it, I can just show you. It makes a huge difference. In general, when it puts out this kind of quality, we're getting closer and closer to this thing just being a Mavic 3 Classic Light. With a bigger sensor, you see the biggest difference in lighting extremes, like sunset, crazy weather. In Oregon, it's fog so thick you can't see 90% of the time, and this started getting really difficult. This was a gamble I took knowing it was, there's 50-50 that this just looks like balls, but I'm kind of just mad that it didn't go my way this time, so. I want to walk up there to see if there's somewhere better to film. Hey, what's up? But I don't want to show up and then it gets even foggier and then I lose the drone because it's too thick. So here we are doing it anyways, and it's important to have equipment that can handle artsy-fartsy stuff because the fog is very bright, by the way. This is daytime. If I couldn't pick up the shadows very well at the same time as the bright clouds, all of this would kind of just look like mush or just really flat and I wouldn't be able to color grade. This is scary. I got some ocean mist. You see all that moisture that's collected on the front of it. I know you saw a screenshot of a retweet of a napkin with crayons scribbling on it saying that the Mini 5 Pro will do 20 megapixel photos. It does not. It does 12 megapixel photos. They just assumed that this would be the case because it's 1 inch. But remember, the Mavic 2 Pro was a 5K sensor and it was shooting 4K cropped in on the sensor. The Mini 5 Pro has a 4K sensor built for 12 megapixels. Even just at 12 megapixels, it is noticeably crisp, and man, this is nothing close to being a toy anymore. This drone, I don't think you could ever call it a beginner drone, even by accident at this point with as much as it can do. They do claim 50 megapixel sensor and 50 megapixel photos. This is a fight I will have until the end of time with DJI. They use quad Bayer, which is dividing each pixel into 4, so you have 4 mini pixels. Now the resolution is quadrupled. It's not the same thing as having a 50 50 megapixel sensor which can do like 8K. However, this is the first time in the side-by-side that I see a clear improvement. The 50 megapixel makes a lot more sense since the sensor is big enough to notice the difference even with the pixel split. Still ridiculous, it is not 50 megapixels, but it is an improvement and much better than the 48 megapixels that they've claimed in the past on the Mini 3 Pro or other drones. Of course, long exposure photos have never even been up for debate. Photo technology on these drones has been from the future for the past 10 years. In 2015, you could still do a 1 second long exposure in RAW format. That just is freaking bonkers, man. There really isn't any limit as far as photography goes with any of these drones. And even if you don't edit the RAW format photos, the JPEGs straight from the camera do look a lot better. And hyperlapses on a 1-inch sensor are always going to look way better because it's dependent on low light. You're not going to see it this good, no offense, because I do it a special way and I edit the photos and stabilize them. This is the DJI app-made hyperlapse, and it's never as good, but you know, at least I am very happy with the stability in this thing. So I did have some issues with the first hyperlapse I did though. What the heck is this wibble wobble Looney Tunes nonsense? That was just the first one though, thank God. It did not do that again. I do have to address the batteries because they changed the specs on it a couple of days before launch. I had to change plans. That kind of tells me this wasn't their intention to start. I noticed that it's 21 minutes when you're filming, and when you're not filming, it'll last 36 minutes. I actually ran the battery down to 0% crash landing and I almost got 41 minutes out of it, but it turns out this is the battery plus. Not recording video. This is Phoenix, so it's a million degrees outside, and the obstacle avoidance was going for the trees, so that might have made things worse. I did another one while recording video and I almost got really similar numbers, so I'm not sure what's going on. It might be the cost of having a bigger camera and LiDAR. I would rather have less battery and a much better drone than a bigger battery, more weight. The Mini 4 Pro batteries also work on the Mini 5, just like how the Mini 3 batteries worked on the Mini 4, which is just so neat of them to do that. Thanks. This will probably be the last upgrade we get for sensor size, with the Mini being the same size and the same body, because how in the world are you going to fit a micro four thirds sensor onto this thing? I think the next one will probably ditch the constraint of 250 grams and just be heavier, and then that gives them a lot more room to pack a bunch more features into it too. And then the Neo will probably take over the area of where the Mini is right now. If you're on the fence worried about the Air 3S and lacking a second camera, trust me, if you are a hardcore photographer or you're using this thing for work, you know that you need that second lens, so you're not on the fence. But if it helps, this Mini has that zoom function and it's inexplicably very good. And if once in a while you're kind of aching for that feature or different framing, this is a good alternative. Again, very surprised, much better than I thought it was going to be. Mini 4 Pro versus Mini 5 Pro, any daytime examples aren't going to be extremely obvious. I can show you some, but it's like, what's going on here? The Mini 4 Pro is less contrasty and more saturation in the trees and the bushes, so that's the software trying to compensate with exposure balancing because it's softer there. I don't really know. Is it just less cloudy at that point? You're just going to frustrate yourself looking at all this because it's going to be very similar. Even a Mini 2 would probably look really similar, middle of the day, just filming trees. That's why I'm stressing that lighting extremes are a big deal. I will say this though, the Mini 5 Pro is noticeably better at dealing with hazy days. This was the haziest day of my life and it still made landscape, all of this, look like fun and evenly lit. There is now a manually rotating gimbal. You hold the button on the back left and scroll with your right finger on the wheel, and this is going to unleash your creative side and help you master drone videography. I'm just kidding. I don't think I'm ever going to use it. It's cool that it's there, but it's like turning sideways is not something I really want. Then of course there's also vertical filming, and it's the same resolution, so there's no loss in quality in anything because the head turns sideways. I think this is for a person who's sending it from the controller to their phone and editing in CapCut and just posting stuff for social media really fast. When this first came around with the Mini 3 Pro, I was doing a tall take and a wide take of everything because I didn't just want a tall take, and usually wide looks better. That's how I'm framing everything anyway. I don't use this all the time. It's nice to have, again, but if you're craving a tall camera, yeah, it's got it. ActiveTrack is really simple. You just draw a square over yourself on the screen. It follows you. If you're a surfer or a biker, this is great for you, but this is not a feature I go crazy for. I'm going to try and shake this thing and outrun it, and I'll show you why it doesn't work. And this looks like it might get a little interesting because it followed me. This was just a warm-up. I was not going full speed. I would have shaken it with the juke if I was warmed up, so that does not count either. Here I've activated my full power, and you can see it just happened to turn in my direction. Is the only reason. Otherwise, at the least, I can tell it can't keep this up forever and it's getting worn down. I realized I should focus on trying to confuse it. Here I use a forbidden technique, which is decoy. Unfortunately, it's still following me. forbidden technique form of king crab. Crazy that that one did not work because the Mini 4 Pro didn't recognize me at all, had to land and restart. I decided to stop there because this is a new drone and I don't want to wear it out or break it. So it does meet standards and ActiveTrack works. What have I been filming with, and should you use auto for 14 stops of dynamic range? Half the shots in here were on D-Log-M and half of them were shooting normal profile. Here is normal profile, bright trees, bright sky, and then switching to 14 stops in auto. It's helpful, but it's a guideline because it will still mess things up sometimes. You can always recover with color grading though. All of these shots are 30 frames a second, ISO 100. The shutter has to change because in different profiles there's different lighting. Auto has exposure balancing, so it tries to deal with the highlights the best it can. Sometimes it comes out too bright though. HLG, this isn't something I ever used. Very colorful. It's a lot of saturation, a lot of vibrance. So immediately you're like, wow, that looks fun, but I wind up needing to pull it back a lot. And then D-Log-M. The idea is for it to look flat and ugly. It absorbs as much detail as it can so that your little tiny drone processor doesn't have to worry about adding color. And your computer, which has a better processor, will add the color later. It's the most true to life. Lighting extremes and having manual control is great for D-Log. Like shooting at nighttime is better with D-Log-M than normal profile. Surprisingly, it only does 14 stops in auto mode, and that's giving me a reason to use auto in general because I don't. I can't keep talking about this thing. I'm getting so sick of bringing it up. This is the biggest quality of life improvement that came out in drones since the beginning of drones. The smart remote removes the third variable, which is your phone. You don't have to finagle it into that stupid little cage with the peasant remote that you get. It's only like 150 extra or something like that. Ridiculously cheap. When these came out, it was like 800 extra. You just turn this on, turn the drone on, fly away immediately. You don't have to worry about your battery dying, your dog's texting you about something again. It's so much simpler. I don't know anyone who's ever paid extra for the smart remote and been mad and wish they had gotten the cheaper one. The screen is so bright, you can use this out in broad daylight. This isn't even a debate anymore, please. Just understand, it sucks that it's going to be more expensive than you thought, but get the freaking smart remote. If this is your first drone, the experience is a huge deal. A smaller drone that can fit inside a Ninja Turtles lunchbox or in your pocket, or just be discreet enough to not bring attention from every dad within 10 miles in their flip-flops and their cargo shorts. It's really important. It just makes you look like a YouTuber or somebody a lot less suspicious. You don't get in as much trouble when you're spying on government operations when they're meeting with your enemies on restricted land, which they only sent me 3 letters this time. Makes no sense to me, but whatever. You will want to use your drone way more, which means you'll get way more experience a lot faster because you want to take it out. You can hike up a mountain with it. The Mavics and the Airs are big enough to just kind of be annoying in your backpack on a hike. You wouldn't even notice a Mini 5 in your backpack. It's so light. There's less stress because if it catches fire and falls out the sky, it's not going to kill some kid. More importantly, the money is not a disabling amount gone. You want one extra battery. If you're serious about video, get some ND filters. Get some shots in mind before you take off. Google your city or your town, area, whatever, and you will get a pretty good idea of what is appealing to look at. Go film those things if you're stuck and can't think of something. You already know they rank high in a search, so people like to look at it. Film before sunset. I promise you'll be happier with the footage, and also you'll notice the difference in a bigger sensor when you put it in weird situations and extreme lighting conditions too. So look for vivid sunsets and weird weather. I teach a course on all of this stuff too, so I'll link it in the description. But the ceiling on the Mini 5 Pro is so huge that it's going to take you a long time before you outgrow anything that this drone can do, to the point where the drone and the features are what's holding you back. Hyperlapse, raw photos, shooting D-Log, editing, trying angles, low light filming. You will not hit a point where your equipment is a limitation for a long time. So don't expect to buy this like the entry drone and then once you've used it a bit, you're going to upgrade to something bigger and forget about it. You will get attached to your Mini 5. You will want to use it forever at the end.